The rain was coming down in sheets as I drove home, the wipers of my Ford struggling to keep up. I'm Leopold, 44, and I work as a software developer in Seattle. Usually I loved the rain. It had a calming effect, a way of washing away the day's stress. But tonight the storm mirrored the turmoil brewing inside me. My wife, Odessa, was a vibrant, energetic woman. A talented architect, she had a way of making spaces feel alive. We'd been married for 15 years, a mostly happy 15 years. We had our ups and downs like any couple, but we always managed to work through them. Or so I thought. It started subtly a few months ago. Odessa began working late more often, blaming it on a big project at the firm. She'd come home exhausted, barely able to muster the energy for a quick dinner before collapsing into bed. I understood. Her work was demanding and I tried to be supportive. But something felt off. The spark between us had dimmed, and our conversations had become transactional, focused on logistics rather than connection. Then came the phone. Odessa had always been secretive about her phone, but recently it had become an obsession. She'd clutch it like a lifeline, even taking it into the bathroom with her. She'd jump if I even glanced in its direction. One evening she left it on the kitchen counter while she went upstairs. I knew I shouldn't, but the temptation was too strong. I picked it up. A notification popped up, a message from someone named Kellan. My heart pounded in my chest as I unlocked the phone using her usual pattern one I knew by heart. The messages were explicit, intimate, filled with longing and desire. My world tilted on its axis. I felt a cold dread creep into my bones. I scrolled through weeks of messages, each one a dagger twisting in my gut. Odessa was having an affair. With Kellan. Who was Kellan? The messages didn't say, but they painted a vivid picture. Someone she worked with, someone she saw regularly, someone she clearly loved. Or at least lusted after. I felt sick, betrayed. 15 years. 15 years of building a life together, of sharing dreams and raising a family. All of it seemingly a lie. I put the phone back exactly where I found it, my hands shaking. I couldn't confront her yet. I needed to process what I'd just learned, to formulate a plan. That night I barely slept. Odessa came to bed late as usual, and I pretended to be asleep. I could feel her presence next to me, but it felt like she was a stranger. The woman I thought I knew, the woman I loved, was gone, replaced by someone I didn't recognize. The next few days were a blur. I went through the motions at work, but my mind was elsewhere. I replayed the messages in my head, dissecting every word, every emoji. I tried to understand how this could have happened. Where had I gone wrong? I decided to do some digging. I knew Odessa worked closely with a few colleagues, and I started with them. I subtly asked around, mentioning Odessa's late nights and her demanding project. One name kept coming up: Kellan. He was a new hire, a hotshot architect who had quickly become Odessa's proc. Young, ambitious, and according to the office gossip, incredibly charming. I found his profile on the company website. A picture of him stared back at me. Handsome, confident, with a smirking smile that made my blood boil. This was the man who had stolen my wife, who had shattered my marriage. I knew I had to confront Odessa, but I wanted to be prepared. I needed proof, something concrete that she couldn't deny. So I decided to play a game. I became more attentive, more loving. I started cooking her favorite meals, planning weekend getaways, showering her with affection. I wanted to see if she would crack, if she would betray herself. At first, she seemed to enjoy the attention. She smiled more, laughed more, but I could see a flicker of guilt in her eyes, a hesitation in her touch. She knew something was wrong, but she couldn't quite put her finger on it. One Saturday morning, I suggested we go for a hike in the mountains. It was a beautiful day, the sun shining brightly, the air crisp and clean. We packed a picnic lunch and set off. As we walked, I casually brought up Kellan's name. "So how's Kellan doing?" I asked, trying to keep my voice neutral. Odessa froze. Her face paled slightly. "Kellan, he's fine. Why do you ask?" "Oh, just curious. I heard he's been working closely with you on the project. He seems like a nice guy." "He is," she said, a little too quickly. "He's very talented." We continued hiking, but the atmosphere had changed. The air felt thick with tension. I could feel Odessa's anxiety radiating off her. We reached a scenic overlook, a breathtaking view of the valley below. I spread out the picnic blanket and we sat down to eat. The silence was deafening. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. I had to know. Odessa, I said, my voice trembling slightly, is there something you want to tell me? She looked at me, her eyes filled with fear and guilt. What do you mean? She stammered. I know about Kellan, I said, my voice hardening. I've read your messages. I know everything. Tears welled up in her eyes. She didn't say anything, but her silence was an admission of guilt. How could you do this to me? I asked, my voice cracking. How could you betray me like this? I don't know, she sobbed. It just happened. I didn't mean for it to go this far. It just happened, I repeated, incredulous. You've been lying to me for months. You've been sneaking around behind my back. How can you say it just happened? I'm sorry, she cried. I'm so sorry. I love you, Leopold. I don't want to lose you. You should have thought about that before you started sleeping with Kellan, I said, my voice dripping with sarcasm. We sat there in silence for a long time, the beautiful view mocking our shattered relationship. Finally, I stood up. I can't do this anymore, I said. I'm done. I walked away, leaving her there on the mountain, surrounded by the wreckage of our marriage. The next few weeks were a living hell. I moved out of our house and into a small apartment. The silence was deafening, the loneliness crushing. I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep. I replayed the confrontation with Odessa in my head, wondering if I could have done something differently, if I could have saved our marriage. But the truth was, it was already over. The trust was gone, the love was gone. All that was left was bitterness and resentment. Odessa tried to contact me, to apologize, to beg me to come back. But I refused to speak to her. I couldn't forgive her, not yet. Maybe someday, in the distant future, I could find a way to move on. But not now. I focused on my work, throwing myself into projects, burying myself in code. It was the only thing that kept me from completely falling apart. One evening, I received an unexpected phone call. It was from a woman named Gwyneth. She said she was Kellan's wife. My heart skipped a beat. I had completely forgotten about Kellan's wife, the innocent victim of his and Odessa's affair. I know about the affair, Gwyneth said, her voice trembling. Kellan told me everything. I'm so sorry. I had no idea. We talked for a long time, sharing our stories of betrayal and heartbreak. We found solace in each other's pain, a shared understanding that transcended our individual experiences. Gwyneth was a strong, intelligent woman. She had been devastated by Kellan's betrayal, but she was determined to move on with her life. She had filed for divorce and was starting over. We started meeting for coffee, then for dinner. We talked for hours, sharing our hopes and dreams, our fears and insecurities. We found comfort in each other's company, a connection that surprised us both. Over time, our friendship blossomed into something more. We fell in love. It was unexpected, but it felt right. We had both been hurt, both been betrayed, but we had found a way to heal, to move on, to find happiness again. Odessa, on the other hand, was not so lucky. Her affair with Kellan had cost her everything. She lost her husband, her reputation, and her job. The firm had discovered Kellan's corrupt practices, and both he and Odessa were fired. Kellan moved away, leaving Odessa to face the consequences of her actions alone. I heard through mutual friends that she was struggling. She was alone, depressed, and financially unstable. I felt a pang of guilt, a flicker of sympathy. But I knew I couldn't help her. I had to protect myself, to protect my own happiness. I had found love again, a love that was real, a love that was built on trust and honesty. I couldn't risk losing that by getting involved in Odessa's drama. I often think about Odessa, about what could have been, but I don't regret my decision. I made the right choice, the only choice I could have made. I chose myself, I chose my happiness, and I chose Gwyneth. Life is unpredictable, full of twists and turns. Sometimes the most unexpected events can lead to the greatest blessings. I never would have imagined that my wife's betrayal would lead me to find true love. But it did. And for that, I am grateful. My story is a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, to the power of forgiveness, and to the possibility of finding love again, even after the most devastating betrayal. It's a reminder that even in the darkest of times, there is always hope. And sometimes, the greatest tragedies can pave the way for the most unexpected and beautiful beginnings.